What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another pre-release video. I'm going to be taking a look at Castorice today and going over everything you need to know about her, as well as my first impressions. This is on the creator experience server for version, God, what version is it now? 3.2. And boy, do I have a lot to say about this character. There's a lot of positives and a lot of negatives, and honestly, some of the things that I know people want me to talk about, I'm going to save for another video because I have a lot to say. Today, I just want to focus on the facts, as well as my opinions on the character, so that way you guys can make an educated decision on whether or not you want to pull for her. With that said, everything on this server is subject to change up until release, so keep that in mind. My name is Braxophone, but you can call me Brax, and let's talk about Castorice. So as usual, I'm going to show you how she works, but first off, I just want to show you the build we're running with before we go in. So I have about 87 speed. This is because you don't really want Castorice to be fast due to the relic set that she is running. The relic set is the new quantum set that decreases the wearer's speed and makes it so that if you have lower than a 110 or 95 speed, you gain a bunch of crit rate. Now, she is below 95 speed, so she's gaining 32 crit rate, which means we're already overcapped. And I've been trying not to overcap crit rate, but it is actually very difficult, especially considering we're going to be running with Remembrance MC here as well. We are using the Battle Pass light cone. Now, the reason for this is there's honestly just not a lot of great Remembrance light cones out yet. It is still a 4-star, technically cheaper to guarantee than her light cone, but it is way less effective because I didn't want to showcase her with her light cone. I felt like that would be cheating. There is the Herta Shop light cone, but you want to avoid that because it increases your speed and you're trying to get lower so you don't have that crit rate problem. Though if we did run this on her, we definitely wouldn't overcap. But it is hard to get below 95 speed, and it's the same base HP as the Battle Pass light cone, so we're running that. I'm sure we will get more Remembrance cones over time. Hopefully we do. If we don't, then that's gonna suck, but it is what it is. Plus you get to look at this picture of Fei Xiao, so I mean, surely that'll brighten up your day. Looking at her relics, I am running also the Bone Collector set with her. This is just because it gives you more max HP, and it increases your crit damage for Castorice and for her dragon, which I'm sure you've already seen. Try to get as much crit damage as possible. We're running HP boots, HP orb, and HP rope. This is because Castorice is an HP scaler, but she also is so heavy HP scaling that HP actually outdoes quantum damage in basically every single scenario. There's very few where quantum damage is better, but you essentially always want to run HP so you don't get that speed. And then you also want to run HP on the orb just so that way you can get more damage overall. We are at E0 with these unactivated. And with that said, let's get into it. So the team we're going to be running today is Pela, Gallagher, Trailblazer, and Castorice. This is just to make it as free to play or low spender friendly as possible to show you that you don't need any premium units at all to make this character an absolute monster. With that said, we are only going to use Castorice's technique in this team. You might use some in others, but we don't want to use Trailblazers because we want to take damage. And then also with Castorice, her technique's going to allow her to summon her dragon right away. So we're going to go ahead and do this. Oh, that is cold. Dragon gets summoned immediately and can immediately take action. Now, when you're playing with this team, I like to play it safe and go, 2 bars or so. So 1, 2, and then usually I'll just basic attack after that, just to play it like extra safe to make sure we have full charge when it's our time to go. So what does Castorice actually do? Well, Castorice is one of those buff vomit characters where she has a bajillion buffs that are written into her kit. And rather than read those, I'd rather just tell you what she does and then tell you when those buffs activate. But honestly, you really don't even need to know a ton about that. The first thing you need to know about Castorice is when her dragon's on the field, she can't gain more energy. 0 out of 34,000. Wow, that seems like a lot of energy, Brax. Yeah, it is. Except it's not actually energy per se. It's HP lost, or with her major trace, it's also HP gained. So basically, whenever an ally takes damage or heals, that healed value gets converted into this sort of energy bank here. And once it's at 34,000, you can summon the dragon. Now, it's strange that you would have to resummon the dragon, but I'm going to tell you why it makes sense and why you care. Essentially, whenever you attack with the dragon, it drains the dragon's HP. This right here, this is actually by your skill point bar. It looks like kind of like a nitrous gauge if you ever played racing games. Yeah, that drains over time per attack. Each attack that Netherwing does is 25% of its HP. So normally you're going to be able to get about 4 attacks off. Because of the Memory of Chaos buff, you are actually getting 5 off because the Memory of Chaos buff is healing you as you're attacking with the dragon. So you actually get a 5th attack. and that is important for later. Basically, if you repeatedly activate it, because each time is 25%, but you can just keep going until he's dead. Every time you attack repeatedly, you actually are increasing the damage multiplier from 28.8% to 33.6, then 40.8, and it stops at 40.8. Now, when it runs out of HP, it actually blows up. Like, it just explodes. And it does bounce damage to all the enemy units, and at the same time, it restores HP to allies. Now, there is one more stacking mechanic. So I mentioned just a second ago that you can do about 4 attacks normally, and then if you have Eidolons, or if you're in this MOC, you can do 5 or even up to 6. Well, this is important because there is a major trace that makes it so that every attack you do in a row increases its damage dealt by 30% up to a max of 6. So now if you have E2, you could probably see up to 180%, but for most players, it's gonna be about 120%, and with this MOC buff, it'll get up to 150%. Now, going back to Castorice, the main thing you probably want to know is how do you get the dragon fast, and then how much damage does it do? And I'll show you how much damage it does in a completely free-to-play setup right after this. But there's also a couple more things to mention in Castorice's kit. So when the dragon gets summoned, you actually decrease all enemies' resistances by 20%. This is really big. It's called a territory. It's kind of like a domain expansion, and everything in it gets 20% all type res down. I don't know why I almost said res resistance. That's insane. And there's a second part of this that actually gives the effect to Netherwing the dragon as well, as long as her talent is activated. What is her talent? Well, it's basically just describing how she gets energy, so we've already been over that, but it also makes it so that whenever allies lose HP, you get up to 20% damage bonus on Castorice and Netherwing, and it can stack up to 3 times. So up to 60% damage dealt increase. The main way you take away your character's HP is through her skill. Obviously, they'll lose HP in battle depending on whatever you're fighting, but also her skill is going to consume 30% of all of your allies' current HP. Now, that is a lot of HP to consume, right? Like, that is a ton of HP. But if you're playing with like the right team, it's not really as big of a deal. You just kind of need a really jacked healer like Gallagher or Locha, and this shouldn't be too big of an issue for you. If Netherwing is on the field and you skill, it consumes 40% of ally HP, which is absolutely crazy, but it does a joint attack on the enemy for just slightly higher than the multiplier of the unenhanced one. She doesn't cost skill points though to use her skill, so that makes her giga SP positive. You're not gonna have any issues running SP heavy supports with her, which is super nice. And then her basic attack you're not gonna use. There's one more thing I have to mention. Jesus, this is such a long kit. Both her and Netherwing actually get speed bonuses based off of Castorice's current HP. So whenever Castorice is greater than or equal to 50% of her max HP, her speed actually goes up by 40%. So this actually puts her at like 135, which is just past the threshold to get the extra turns that you want, which is absolutely fantastic because it doesn't affect the relic set. The relic set only counts at the start of battle. It doesn't count after the battle starts. And on top of that, if Netherwing deals fatal damage to all the enemies on the field or brings them to a point where they can't lose more HP, like a boss, for example, Netherwing's speed will increase by 100%. So you just get to go again, like you just go so fast. But I think it's better to show you these sort of things in practice, so that's what I'm gonna do. Real quick, just so you guys know, I'm using the Hertashop Light Cone on Remembrance MC. I'm using Resolution Shines as Pearls of Sweat on Pela, and I'm using Hey Over Here, which you may have not seen in a very long time. Technically, the best light cone to use with Gallagher in this situation is the Battle Pass light cone, even at S1, but especially if you have S5, it's even better because basically that one's just going to provide you more overall healing, which is more overall charge. But this is actually insanely good for healing bonus and for max HP. I highly recommend using Hey Over Here because like, it's just great. This is one of the first times you want to use this over something like an energy light cone, but trust me, it's great. All right, so let's get started and I can kind of walk you through everything. I'm gonna go and move my camera over here and let's get it. So I'm gonna go ahead and start off by summoning Mem, just so that way we can get true damage on her because that true damage is just really disgusting. Now we've gone to Gallagher's turn. What's actually funny about the healing that affects Castorice's energy gain is that you can actually overheal and all of the overhealing still counts as healing towards the dragon or towards the energies. So we are gonna heal the dragon first and then we're gonna Gallagher ult right after. So that way we can get some extra healing and make sure the dragon is topped off for when he comes up. So here we go. Gonna go ahead and apply Besotted here, which is going to allow us to heal a ton off of it. And then if I use my basic here, it'll heal everyone and it'll give the dragon a ton of charge. So here we go. The dragon's almost full HP. It's Mem's turn. We're gonna bring up Castorice. And the dragon also just got topped up by the enemy too, because the enemy drained all of her HP. That's totally fine. We don't really care about that. Now, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to drain the HP from Castorice, which kind of sucks, but it is okay because we do get HP back from Besotted, and it is a lot. I'm going to go ahead and use my skill on Pela, which gives me her ult. We're going to defense shred the enemy, and then the dragon's going to come up and just blast them. Here we go. Boom. We're going to go ahead and just lay on the gas pedal here and just all the way to 0, blow up the dragon. My computer's lagging. I don't know if you can see that, but 852k in 3 targets. That's pretty good for a completely free-to-play friendly setup, save for her Battle Pass like con, but unfortunately that is one of the compromises I had to make for this video. It is still a 4-star if nothing else. I'm gonna go ahead and use Trailblazer's ult because we're nowhere near hitting that max charge just yet, and then I'm gonna go ahead and use skill on Trailblazer because it's free. It's completely free. We're gonna get so many skill points from using Castorice to attack with her skill because she doesn't cost anything. Okay, so now the dragon isn't up. We are at 8,264. We want to charge that up as fast as possible. So we're gonna heal the character that has the highest max HP, which is going to be Castorice in this team. I'm looking at Gallagher, 5,600. You guys can't actually see the HP, but Gallagher's 5,600. Pela has 5,100. Castorice has 8,200. So we're gonna go ahead and heal Castorice. And as you can see, that 4,000 or so went straight into her energy, even though she was overcapped. But basic attack here, get some eels. And now we finally get to drain HP off all of our characters, which is super cool. Puts us at 89%. Let's go ahead and just basic attack here. And we're at 100% charge. Gonna go ahead and use Dragon. Instantly bring them out. And now there's honestly not like a super huge reason to do this other than to get his ult, but that's what we'll do. We'll get Gallagher's ultimate. We'll save it for right after this. We're gonna blow these guys up and just do a ton of damage all at once. And wow, that is going to be another 862k in 3 targets, which is, again, 4-star light cones, pretty dang good. I'm gonna go and use Gallagher's ultimate. We are gonna lose Besotted on the next phase, but that should be okay because we're getting the dragon up basically in an instant here. Mem's gonna action forward Castorice. This should give us the dragon, which will be absolutely fantastic. We're gonna go and summon the dragon, and we're not even gonna have to use the full gauge, which is gonna be super nice. So we can do this up down till 0, and now the dragon has a huge speed boost and it's gonna go very, very quickly. But we should actually be able to, with our enhanced basic attack, apply Besotted again, which actually already on there. So there you go. I completely forgot about that. Get some healing, bring back the dragon's HP for their next turn, and we are feeling fantastic about this actually. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my skill, and it's time to unleash the dragon. Now, unfortunately, this boss does have quite a few buffs, but we fortunately do not care about that. We're gonna go ahead and do this. We're gonna use her ultimate. I'm gonna go ahead and skill on Castorice. That'll give us about 12%. I'm gonna go ahead and use my ultimate on Remembrance Trailblazer. I used that a little bit ahead of Castorice's ult. I should have used her ult first, but that's totally fine. We're at 89%. And I do think this is going to end up being a 2-cycle, but you can definitely do 1. Jeez. Yeah, the damage just looks really good. 1 million damage. 4-star light cones, by the way. Holy. I'm gonna go ahead and just basic attack here because Castorice is coming up. I would love to get that free action forward and health swipe. So we're gonna go ahead and basic attack here as well. Let's go into action forward Castorice. And we're gonna do this, and we're gonna swipe some more HP. 86%. We're gonna go ahead and heal Castorice to get the most charge as possible. Then we're gonna Besotted. Or not Besotted, we're gonna ult with Gallagher. And now we can just ult to bring the dragon out. Unfortunately, I didn't press it before Gallagher took his action, so we do basically lose all this healing. But I think that this guy's gonna go down here in just a second, so we don't have to worry about that really. Because they're just gonna take so much damage and then explode. And it's beautiful. 1 million damage, and then it blows up because it's Pollux. So there you go. 2 cycles with 4-star light cones only, E0 Castorice. What a beautiful day. What a beautiful day to be a Castorice player. There's a couple more things that we need to go over before I can tell you about our teams and stuff, just because this is not something that I can show you in battle, but I can talk about it. So if you go over to her traces, she actually has this rather controversial ability. It's called a global passive ability, and essentially what it does is her global passive makes it so that if she is on your account in any capacity at all, If she exists on your account, if she's a character you pulled, she doesn't have to be on your team. She can just be in your backpack somewhere. If a character or multiple characters die on your team once per battle, you can actually revive them. They enter this like cocoon state thing, and essentially their turns keep going as normal, but they have 1 HP. If they don't get healed or shielded before their next turn, they die. But it's essentially a free revive at any given time on any team, up to once per battle. Now, personally, I don't think this is that strong. I think if Revive was super strong, then more people would be playing Bailu. Ideally, you just don't die in the first place, right? But it can be helpful for some people. Personally, I think the concept of a global passive is terrible for the game, because if this ever appeared in some sort of form, like a damage percent or like a res pen global passive, that would be bad. But as far as this one goes, it's pretty harmless in terms of the actual effect. I'm not a fan, but it does exist and I want to be objective about it, so I'm talking about it. The other thing to mention is light cones. Now, I did use the Battle Pass light cone here, but the best in slot for her is obviously going to be her own signature light cone. Now, this thing is pretty dang strong, but the main reason that you'll feel the difference between this one and the Battle Pass light cone is because there are not a lot of Remembrance light cones available right now, and there's not a lot that work with her specifically. Now, this light cone is pretty ridiculous for her. It gives her a bunch more max HP. It also makes it so that she and her Memo Sprite Dragon can ignore a target defense. And it also makes it so she gets an action advance whenever her dragon disappears. On top of all of that, it has crazy high base HP. But that HP part is pretty relevant. The Battle Pass light cone is the best Remembrance light cone you can have for her if you don't have her signature. And it is a 4-star, which is nice, but it is on the Battle Pass. So pick your poison. You want to get the Battle Pass? If so, it's a good pickup. But if not, then, you know, it's not even an option for you. But the reason I mentioned the HP thing is actually because if you don't have the Battle Pass weapon, and if you don't have her signature light cone, then Mighty's light cone is actually the best option you have for her if you have it, which is weird as hell, actually. 1375 base HP. Basically, this gives her more HP, which lets her do more damage based off the HP, but it also makes it so that you get more charge if you have percentage damage taken, which her skill does. You won't get the effect of it at all, but because it has high HP, that's basically it. But if you don't have Mighty's light cone and you've been playing for a while, you might actually have the next light cone I'm going to talk about. I don't know if you guys remember Boot Hill, but I gave him this Locha light cone. Actually, I don't think it was this Locha light cone. I don't remember what it was, but I gave him something that obviously he shouldn't have had. Well, may I introduce you to Time Waits for No One, the 5-star standard Bailu light cone, which increases the max HP of the wearer if it would work for them. But unfortunately for Castorice, it doesn't, because she's not Abundance. What it does have is base HP of 1270, which is very high and makes this one of her best light cone options if you don't have the Battle Pass one and if you don't have Castorice's personal best in slot light cone. Any light cone with high base HP is pretty good. Something irreplaceable from Clara is even pretty good. But Victory in a Blink, if you don't have any of those, Victory in a Blink is available to you to craft, and it's pretty okay on her. Like, you're gonna feel a really big difference between this and Victory in a Blink. It's like, you're gonna feel like a 33% difference, man. It's like a pretty big deal. And if you don't want to craft Victory in a Blink, but you have S5 of this, of Genius's Greetings, I guess you could go for it. It's not the best thing in the world, but like, you can. But yeah, if you don't have Castor's light cone or the one where Fei Shao beats you up, you can go with the Bailu light cone for the high base HP, which is that's so funny to me. Other than light cones, I'm not really sure what else to talk about other than Eidolons and teams, so let's get into it. Castorice's teams are actually, I mean, she has quite a bit of flexibility. Not all of it is free to play, but a lot of it is. So the team that I showed you today was Trailblazer, Castorice, Pela, and Gallagher, but we do have Tribby here. This is because Tribby and Trailblazer Remembrance are going to be the best partners for Castorice right now, or some of the best partners. Tribby is just too strong, and Castorice Castorice pairs incredibly well with HP scaling units, and Tribby is one of those. She gets a ton of HP, which means that whenever Castorice does her skill, that 40% or 30% is just higher. You're getting more charge for it. And overall, Tribby, with her buffs that she gives, with the all-type res pen and things like that, it's too good to ignore. Also, because Castorice's HP is so high, Tribby's going to absorb that, and then Tribby's actually going to do a fair bit of damage. So Castorice, Tribby, good combo. Trailblazer, Castorice, very good combo for that true damage. And then Gallagher is just my goat, and I'll explain that in a minute. But if you're looking at other supports that you can run Pela if you don't have Tribi. Trailblazer, I think you should just always run with her if you have the option to. Sunday also works, which some people disagree with, but the reason he works is because his buffs are just so good, and the action forward is going to mean more energy gain for Castorice and more dragon uptime. You just have to make sure if you're playing Sunday that you want to give his ultimate buff, the Beatified, to Castorice after the dragon is summoned. So the problem is that if the dragon is not summoned and you give it to Castorice, the dragon won't copy the Beatified. But if you do wait till the dragon is summoned and then you give it to Castorice, the dragon also gets it. So it's very strong. Ruan Mei is honestly a little worse than Pela from my experience, but if your Pela is occupied elsewhere and you got that free Ruan Mei, she can also slide in with Castorice too, so that's an option for you. If Silverwolf gets buffed and gets like AoE defense shred, she'll probably also be pretty good. And then as far as other supports go, you can play support Blade. I'm gonna let that sit with you for a second. Blade does so little damage in 2025 that he serves Castorice better as a support. Yeah, so basically what you're going to want to do with Blade is build him very fast. Build him with the Eagle set if you want that action forward, HP chest, HP orb, energy regen, rope. You're actually going to want to give him healing bonus on the new set, which is the Grove of Epiphanies. I think Giant Tree of Wrapped Brooding. I don't remember which one is the set effect and which one is the name, but essentially because Blade damages himself and heals himself so gosh darn frequently, if you make him fast, he will generate so much energy for Castorice that he actually rivals Remembrance MC. I'm not kidding you. Playing this team with Tribi, Gallagher, and Castorice and replacing Remembrance MC with Blade did the same amount of cycles as using Remembrance Trailblazer. So something to keep in mind. It's really funny though. And then with Mighty, he actually does a lot of damage and does similar things to Blade. So you get a lot of charge for Castorice, but you also get the advantage of having another damage dealer on your team. And then on top of that, Tribi can buff your entire team, not just one character. So Mighty also benefits from Tribi if you replace Remembrance Trailblazer with him. And then lastly, you want to run an Abundance character. Now I like Gallagher more than Lucha here because Gallagher has so much team-wide healing with his basic attack that afflicts Besotted, and then also with all of your allies healing themselves on attack. It is very similar to Lucha, but I like Gallagher a little bit more personally. Now, it's up to you which you want to use, but either one of these characters can work out great. And actually, I do want to make one last note. If you are playing the Battle Pass Light Cone, which is called Warmth Shortens Cold Nights, you actually want to heal with Gallagher the lowest max HP character on your team, because the rest of your team will get 4% of their respective max HP back, which will usually result in more overall charge for Castorice. This thing is a cheat code. It's actually crazy. But yeah, there's quite a bit of flexibility here. I would just recommend one of these two healers for her, and then one of these supports at plus Tribi or plus Remembrance MC, and you can play Mighty with her if you want. And lastly, the final thing we need to talk about before I give you my opinions on the character at E0 are her Eidolons. Now her E1 is fairly strong. Essentially, whenever the enemy has a percentage less than the unit's max HP, the unit being Castorice, you actually get even higher damage dealt from the dragon, which is really cool. To me, this reads like an assassination. If you guys have played other games, when the enemy has lower HP, you actually deal bonus damage and you can like one-shot it. That's kind of what this is about, and it leads to a lot more damage, especially in MOC where bosses just have so much HP. You can really take them down fast. Now, E2 is a bit of a point of contention for some people. The TLDR is that you can actually get extra uses of the Dragon's Breath with E2, which will allow you to stack up that damage bonus more that we were talking about from the Dragon's Talent. But Castorice also gets an action forward with it, and whenever you use the next enhanced skill, Castorice will get 30% of the energy back for Netherwing, so you'll be able to summon a lot more frequently, and you'll be able to get more stacks and deal more damage with the Dragon's Breath as well. So there's a problem with this specifically in this Memory of Chaos, where the damage that she deals is so high that you kind of just absolutely demolish the enemy, and then you don't have any more dragon for the next little bit. So you can one-shot the boss, or you can kill the boss like very quickly. But when you do that, you're going to lose the dragon, and then you're going to have to wait until you can actually get enough HP back to resummon it, which in theory, like when it was tested exactly to a T of this MOC, ended up clearing slower. But I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, this is better. It is a lot more damage. The problem is just that like right now, the HP that the enemy has in MOC just gets absolutely demolished. If you have Castorice E2 and S1, that thing is dead so quick that it actually just kind of leaves you high and dry waiting until you can get your next dragon. But like I said, that's all theoretical on paper. E2 is very strong. You just might have to change your playstyle to either blow all of the dragon up right at the start of the fight, or just wait 3 to 6 more months to see if the MOC HP goes up, and then you're not gonna have any issues with it. E3 is an ultimate basic attack and Memo Sprite talent level up, so that's pretty cool, I guess. E4 makes it so that when Castorice is on the field, all allies get a 20% incoming healing bonus. It's going to essentially allow you to get the dragon up faster and just make sure everyone's more comfy. And then skill talent and Memo Sprite skill level up on E5. And lastly, her E6, which is just absolutely destructive. Whenever Castorice or Netherwing deals damage, you get a 20% bonus quantum res pen. So that's pretty big, right? But when Netherwing attacks, it ignores a weakness type and it directly reduces enemy toughness. So like Acheron's E6, where you can reduce enemy toughness regardless of the weakness type, you actually reduce weakness regardless of the enemy's weakness type with Netherwing on this too. And then also when the dragon explodes, it bounces 3 more times, it does more damage. So, I mean, yeah, it's like big. By the time you get all of these, you're doing 130% more damage than you would have at the start. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. But definitely, in my opinion, I don't think you should be swiping on these unless this is just like your favorite character and you've been planning on it the whole time, because honestly guys, she's very strong at E0, and if you're choosing between Eidolons or her light cone, like E1 or her light cone, I highly recommend getting her light cone. Actually, there's not a lot of good remembrance ones, and that one's going to be probably better investment for you if you were already planning on spending. But with that said, this character works without her signature light cone. She does a pretty solid amount of damage, as you guys have seen. So you definitely don't have to pull her light cone, you definitely don't have to pull her E1. But if you're going to, light cone over E1 for me. Now, as for my opinion of the character, setting aside the global passive, which I've already briefly mentioned this, but I'm not a huge fan of it. This character is objectively strong. She's objectively strong. I don't think she's like super explosive, overpowered, broken. I don't think she's underwhelming. I think she's just strong. She's a newer unit. She does the job pretty dang well in MOC, and she's fun to play. She plays a little bit different from everyone that we're used to, with the HP drain leading to HP scaling damage. You know, Jingliu drained ally HP to try and get attack bonus. Well, she just, you know, she doesn't care about attack at all. She just only wants that HP. So HP enjoyers rejoice. This is the character for you. I don't think she's a must pull, but if you like the character, definitely don't be afraid to pull her. She is very good, but your account's not like bricked if you skip her either. We have plenty of new characters coming up over the next few patches, and you don't have to be worried about it if you miss her. But for those of you who are pulling, good luck. Here is a showcase of what she can do with premium units.